Welcome to the Southern Stock Podcast. Today we have Matt Swift, the creator and host of The Southern Blueprint, a podcast and media brand that uncovers history, mysteries, folklore, forgotten stories of the American South. I'm excited to have you on. Welcome, Matt.
Yeah,
Yes,
thanks
welcome.
thanks for having me on the show, guys.
So, first question right out of the gate. You're someone who's clearly deeply curious, right?
Mhm.
So, were you a big reader growing up? And if so, can you remember a book that made you kind of fall in love with reading?
In high school, I was not. I was a horrible student. S Probably the, class clown, but I guess when I got in college and around, early 20s is when I really started reading, and there is a book I really got into Hunter S. Thompson,
Okay.
and The Rum Diary by him
Mhm.
really kinda set me off on this book journey that I have. So I can point to that book specifically as one that was the catalyst for this huge collection that I have now.
That was awesome. And you have quite, from watching your podcast, you have quite an eclectic sort of mix of different books that you read, different genres, mysteries, obviously a lot focused on Southern culture, but you have a
Mhm.
lot of different interests there. Is there a book that you've read that changed the way you think about people? Like, not necessarily your favorite book, but one that made you understand maybe human nature differently?
Oh man. Well, there's this one book that I read by someone that's on this podcast called Southern Stock. Um, and it was part of our we have a book club, and that was literally our first book that we read for book club.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know it was
And
something like that.
Yeah, and it was funny. You talked about personal stories and you just storytelling. The story that you told about your dad hit home for me because I was really getting back into NASCAR at the time. Anyway, so your book couldn't have come at a more perfect time for me. Um, and it was a way to tell a story. One, I love history. I love bootlegging,
Mhm.
moonshining. I love NASCAR. So it was kind of perfect. And that's a great book. I know I'm talking to you. I'm not trying to blow smoke here, but no, it's a great combination of all of those elements that I like. The history, uh, like I said, the moonshining, the NASCAR stuff, and the way that you told the story was perfect and exactly kind of what I like to do and the type of stories that I like to tell.
That's awesome, and thank you for
Yeah.
that. As
Sure.
an artist, it's difficult to put your work out there sometimes, so it's nice to see when people get it, and
Yeah.
appreciate it. And what I was really going for there is not just talking about the sport itself, but like not only like you said the history behind it, but the real people that
Hmm.
raced it, that were there, that built it.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I said this on I was a guest on another podcast, and I mentioned your book and your
Mhm.
name on that too. It's the South is its own character,
That's right.
and there's so much quirkiness with the South and the people that live here,
Hmm.
and I love it. It's very unique. Not that everywhere in the world's not unique, but the South is distinctly unique in a lot of ways. So the characters, yeah, what you were saying is part of the story, part of the charm.
That's right. And I watched that podcast, the Southern Fried podcast.
Mm,
And I think you're right. I think that in the South, you can't really separate the people from the place because we're so
mhm.
intertwined. And we are kind of, there's a contradiction to Southern culture, right? Like, we're very polite people. We say, yes, ma'am. We wave, we hold the door open for you. We'll feed you all day long. Right.
Mm,
But underneath that softness, there's this kind of grit and rebellious nature that
mhm.
runs deep, and that's just part of our history and our tie to the
Yeah.
land. And I'm sure you've seen that in a lot of the books that you've read, and and just having been from
Yeah.
there, you're from North Carolina too, right?
Yeah, I think eh, p part of that toughness and grit is why we can be polite and love tradition.
Point.
We work hard, we do things a certain way, but at the end of the day, we try to help one another. We try to be nice to one another until there's a point where we're not so nice anymore. But it takes a little bit. I have friends that are
Right.
from up north, and they are fast with the attitude and everything like that. We take a little bit longer to get angry. But yeah, I think that grit is a big part of it, and it makes a big difference in who we are.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're very resilient type of people.
Mhm.
And you're right. It's like a slow burn. We'll say thank you, and you're so sweet, honey, and all this stuff. And then when you get to God bless you, then you're or bless her
Yeah,
heart.
yeah,
Then you're
yeah,
like, uh-oh.
yeah. You're in trouble.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble. Um, and I do think that the South, unlike a lot of places really has this incredible oral storytelling tradition. Where I remember for myself, my first experience with it was sitting with my uncle Jake on the front porch, and he was a war hero, and he would sit and just tell me these stories all day long. Sometimes stories he probably shouldn't have been telling me about the war and all the gruesome stuff that happened. But that was where my love of storytelling came in, and I see that part of maybe what you're doing, is that you're trying to preserve some of that because I see you talking a lot about folklore and traditions and culture. Um, do you think we're in danger of losing that storytelling tradition?
A little bit. I think people don't take the time anymore to be curious. Everything's fast and furious. You're on your phone, you're flipping by, and a lot of the stories that I am telling, I'm learning as I go.
Mhm.
I'm curious. I'm fascinated by certain things. And so I'll find a topic that I don't really know about and I'll do a deep dive on it. And then I'm like, oh, this would be a good article. This would be a good podcast or social media post for others to learn and find out about. So I have to say, selfishly, I do a lot of this for myself just
Yeah.
so I can know it and preserve it. And hopefully people get some type of value out of it.
Absolutely. I enjoy your podcast, and you got Shark Week coming up, I see. So that's fun.
Yeah, I just put out a shark related podcast yesterday about the attacks in 2015 in North Carolina. There was a huge number that year compared to other years. So again, just kind of curious about sharks in North Carolina and landed on that topic and decided to tell people about it for good or ill.
No, I love it. And you know what? I saw that post pop up, and I was like, I didn't know about that. Like,
Yeah,
what was I doing
20.
in 2015 that I didn't know? I was old enough to be able to remember,
Yeah.
but so I'm gonna have to look into that. Do you and I know you have a young son.
Mhm.
Do you tell him stories at night? Is there, like, bedtime reading? Do you kind of preserve some of these traditions with him?
Yeah, it's so funny. He will sit there and watch adult shows. He's 5, so he
Mhm.
will sit there and watch. He's been watching Shark Week. There's certain programs we can't watch because he
Right.
gets a little too scared, but we'll watch Expedition Unknown. He's been watching No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain, which I love. Uh, and he's really, we take him traveling with us. And so, yeah, I'm definitely going to be teaching him as much as possible about where he's from and all the great things that are in the South and also throughout the world, too. So, we're big travelers. So, he's at the age where we can really start taking him with us more places. He's a really good hiker, too, and
Oh,
very
that's awesome.
curious. He's very curious, which is hilarious.
That's one of my favorite things to do outside of reading and writing is hiking, like,
Yeah.
for hours and hours on end. Do you guys ever go out west to hike, or do you kinda stay around Appalachia?
We went to Colorado a couple years back, and that was amazing. We just got back from Tennessee. That's not really out west, but so
But
um, other than that, I really need to get more out west because there's some great places that we haven't been to try. So we need to get on that.
Yeah, there are, and I love that you're opening your son's mind up to travel and to those things, right?
Mhm.
Because it's
Yeah.
gonna make him more curious, just like you are, about
Oh yeah.
his world, right? And, yeah, yeah, you gotta get out to Utah, Wyoming, those are
Mm.
beautiful places as
Yeah.
well.
That's
Yeah, some
definitely
of my
on the
favorite
list.
experiences growing up were favorite memories growing up were just those travel experiences with my family, and even though I was like a young kid at the time, like I still look back at them and like some of my favorite memories that I've ever had. So yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny too, on these trips, I tell, my son that we're gonna look for Bigfoot, and,
That's awesome. It's
sometimes
perfect.
I'll go up ahead and I'll make Bigfoot noises, and he'll be like, "Did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." Um, and, I always, 'cause I like to tell stories, I will make up stories to tell my wife. On kind of one of our first dates was hiking, and I made up this whole elaborate story about Moses Cone, which is in, Boone, and about him and as a person. She was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "No, none of that's none of that's true."
I just
So,
have a big imagination. I made that all up.
yeah, and so as we're walking, I'm just telling this elaborate story, and she's like, "What?" So, yeah.
That's awesome. Um, I was thinking too about how Southerners are fiercely we're fiercely proud of where we come from, right? Even we can be critical of it, but we're also fiercely proud. Um,
Yeah,
what do you think creates that deep sense of attachment to the land?
we're romantics.
That's right.
That's we love tradition. Um, but you kind of touched on something. It's we are, I'll just say me. I'm very proud of where I'm from. I can also look at some of our history and not be proud of some of that.
That's
And
right.
I think that's okay though. I don't know why we have to like really defend it to who. So um but yeah, we are very proud of where we come from. I think it's the grit that you talked about, the way of life, and just that history of where we come from, and just all the amazing things that we have, the food, the culture, the music.
Yeah.
It's There's
Mhm.
a lot to be proud of. And s I live in North Carolina. There are way too many people moving to this state, so apparently it's a
I'm gonna
great
be there
place to live.
soon.
Yeah, so
Yeah, sorry, I
I
just
mean,
moved here too.
nice. Hey, it's an amazing state, so there is a lot to be proud of, especially, uh, being from North Carolina. You got the mountains, you got the beach,
Oh
you
yeah.
get all 4 seasons. What's not to love? So, South is great.
It
Lots to be
is.
proud of.
And I always think back to, I mean, speaking of books, Gone with the Wind, that scene where I was in love with that book, by the way, and that movie when I was a little girl. I just thought it was like, woo, amazing. But the scene where she's plunging her hand down into the dirt and the soil is dry.
Mhm.
Um, but she realizes that that's their livelihood. And there's
Yeah.
something about that red clay, and I talk about that in Southern Stock. There's something about that red clay that kind of runs through our blood.
Mhm.
Maybe it's because our forefathers lived off that land, and that was how they made a living. And then when they couldn't, then that's when they started moonshining, right? Because the
Mhm.
crops were drying up, and they
Yep.
had no way. They weren't making money, selling um, vegetables, corn, whatever they were doing anymore. So they turned it into alcohol. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's
Mhm.
why we're just so deeply tied to the land because it is in a way it's in our DNA.
Yeah, you gotta be adaptable and,
Yeah.
look at unique ways to make money and do it on our terms is
Yeah.
how I would say it.
That's good. I like that. Do it on
Mhm.
our terms. So you talk a lot about how South is a character itself. And I see that more in Southern literature than I do almost any other type, right? Like it becomes this kind of mythic creature almost. And you can feel yourself being transported to this
Mhm.
world, whether it's, the coast of Charleston and the swamps, right? Which I wrote about in Southern Stock, or the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains. And I think the South as a character is this beautiful, often stubborn and complicated character,
Mhm.
right? Um, can you tell me about maybe some books that you've read that kind of brought the South to life?
Yeah. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, is a perfect example of, and Savannah is a perfect city to use as an example. It's hauntingly beautiful.
Mhm.
You have the trees, you have this weird history. Everything's haunted apparently in Savannah.
That's right.
Uh,
I believe it.
so yeah, so like it's its own character, and I think in that book in particular, the characters were eclectic and wild,
Hmm.
and you know the setting was perfect, and the way he described it was great. The people, the charm, the weirdness of it, and then also
Hmm.
you have a murder mixed in with that too.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I think that's a perfect book to explain like the South and why the South is kind of its own character. Most of the book is about the people and the city and the atmosphere.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love that book, and I've read it several times, as I'm sure you
Mm,
probably have as
yeah.
well. But you're right, Savannah just I love the trees, like, dripping with the moss. There's something about it that
Yeah.
just, like, makes the hair stand up on my arms, like, it
Mhm.
gives me goosebumps because
Yeah.
it's haunting and you don't forget it. I was just in Charleston, a couple
Mhm.
weeks ago, and that's another place that really haunts me, but really, I mean, apparently it is haunted, and
Everything in
there
Charleston is also haunted.
everything in Charleston is haunted. I actually went on a ghost tour. We didn't see any. I was a little disappointed, but whatever. But there's something about that city that draws me back time after time again. There is
Yeah.
just it's small, it's vibrant, but at the same time has this, history that's not so great.
Mhm.
And these places like jails and dungeons and then you've got in juxtaposition to that, you've got these colorful buildings. You've got Rainbow Row and all these pastels that look like, it's buildings that look like Easter eggs. So
Yeah.
it's like, what is this place? Um, and then also you've got, and I don't know if you've read a lot about this, but it fascinates me, the Gullah culture down there.
Yeah.
Um, I'm actually working on a book about that.
Nice.
I'm hoping maybe people would want to read something like that, like a ghost story kind of based
I
on the Gullah
will
tradition.
I will
Um,
100% read that. That's
yeah,
right up my
awesome.
alley. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So working on that, but it's just such a fascinating tradition to me because there are so few of them left, the Gullah people, and it's a language like nothing else in the US. I mean, we have, some Native American speakers out there. My great grandmother was Cherokee.
Mhm.
So there's, and there's a lot of indigenous people around the United States, right? Where you have those cultures preserved, but Gullah is even a smaller portion
Mm.
of a culture which really were slaves, right? Brought into Charleston, into the port of Charleston, and
Mm.
developed this language and this culture based on hoodoo, which is not, I've learned, the same as voodoo. It's very
That's
different.
correct.
It's actually very religious based.
Right.
Um, and I think a lot of people misunderstand that.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent and I'm nerding out here, but
No, I'm with you.
that's
Yeah.
another one of those places that like it gets me. It gets me
Mhm.
every single time. Are there other places in the I mean, look, we've got one of the beautiful things about the South too is it's completely drivable. I'm down in
Yeah.
South Florida, and if I drive from where I am in South Florida up to Tallahassee, I may as well have driven all the way to Georgia because it's like a 9-hour drive, right?
That's true.
It takes forever, but in that area of the country, I can go from Georgia to South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia, all of these places within a matter of hours, you can be from the mountains to the coast.
Mhm.
Um, are there places that you just really love that kind of stick with you other than Savannah?
Yeah, well, Charleston, definitely one of them. I lived in Wilmington for a few years. When I went to school there, there was not much school going. I lived a block off the beach, but I lived there, and we actually just went back and visited a couple months back, and that is a place that has some interesting history. There was a coup there
Oh.
in the 1800s. Um, you've got the USS North Carolina there,
Mhm.
which is a fabulous warship. Uh, it's the beach, and it's a beautiful place. And I forgot. It's been a long time since I've been there, and I forgot how amazing it is. Uh, I'm partial to Boone, though.
Oh, I love Boone.
That's I was just
Boone
up there
Season.
last week. Basically, I'm up there almost every week because it only takes me like an hour and 40 minutes to get there. So I'll go up there and go fly fishing with some buddies, and I just love it. I'm hoping that maybe we can get a house up there at some point because my wife loves it too. We got engaged up there on a hike. Took her hiking up to Rough Ridge. That's where we got engaged. Told,
That's beautiful.
told her
That's
some
awesome.
stories. Told her some
Such a great
stories.
story.
But yeah, Boone, I absolutely adore. Asheville's great. I live there too. I've lived all over the state
I
apparently.
love Asheville
So
too.
yeah,
Yep.
but I'm partial to Boone, and we just got back from Pigeon Forge, which I was really shocked how much I liked it. I I don't know why I was shocked, but the Smokies are gorgeous. So those are a couple places that are, at least drivable that are just gorgeous.
I love those places. Did you guys go to Dollywood?
We did. It was like 102 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
My son had a couple of meltdowns. I had a meltdown or two. But it was great. It was great.
That's fun. I have such good memories of that part of the country too. When I was little, maybe little known fact here, um, my mom had a dance studio, and
Oh.
guess who was the instructor? So we taught little kids to dance, like ages like 3 all the way up, right, to teenagers. And every year we would go to Dollywood and we would perform, and we
Oh,
would
cool.
clog. Do you know what that is? Clogging?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's what we
Yeah.
did.
Nice.
And a lot of people don't know what that is, except when who's the guy from White Lotus that just recently did all of the Walmart commercials, and he's clogging in the commercials?
Oh, I forget his name.
I
Yeah, I know.
forget. But
Okay.
I saw that
Yep.
commercial, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is crazy." So we had a
Yeah.
lot of good memories there, but I think what you're doing too with your podcast and all the things that you're doing is that you are going to inherently make other people curious about these places and visit these places. Like, because now I wanna go to Wilmington and I wanna know about the coup and all of these things, which I didn't know happened there, and I haven't been in a long time. So I think it's
Yeah.
great what you're doing.
I try to mix up the content. Like I'll do true crime is just so unbelievably popular.
Mhm.
So there's some of that. There's history, folklore, especially around like September, October. I do a lot of spooky content because I'm a huge Halloween nerd.
Mhm.
But so it's not a true crime podcast. It's not a history podcast. It's just all of the things. I can't just do one thing. So
No, I
I
think it's
try.
great, and I think that
Yeah.
shows that you have lots of interest. Because I think sometimes we look at a person and we pigeonhole them, right? Like, we go like, I know people might say, like, "Oh, she's a writer, and that's what she does, and she sits in her room and writes," but I also love to hike, and I mountain bike, and I, like,
Yeah.
do other things, but no, I think that's great. Sidebar, Halloween, um, yeah, do you decorate the whole and do the whole thing?
I I start on September 1st, and I watch horror movies for 2 months straight. I You'll see a bunch of content come out. I'm writing. I I just nerd completely out. We go to Scarowinds, which
Oh,
is Carowinds.
Scarowinds! Yes.
Carowinds they turn into
Yep.
Halloween themed stuff. I do that every year. I'm like a big kid. I'm in my late 40s, and I literally act like a 10-year-old during this time.
I love it. So Halloween for me, and this might get a little bit sad, but it's not too sad. Halloween for me, so Halloween was the day that my dad died, that Stick Elliott died.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. Okay.
Yeah, so he died on Halloween. His tombstone actually says November 1st, but it's not factual because he died 1 minute before the clock changed
Oh, wow.
to
Okay.
November 1st.
Okay.
So it's incorrect on his tombstone, but, um, I remember, which is strange that I remember because I'm only 5 at the time, being dressed up for Halloween and being at the hospital, and I was a cat. So I had, like,
Oh,
I'm in the hospital, I had the little ears, and my sisters were, like, I don't know, witches or something, and my grandfather
yeah.
getting me, peanut M&Ms from the vending machine because we weren't, we were just there.
Yeah.
And while it's a sad memory, it also became kind of one of those memories that I cherish because I remember the time with my grandfather and how he took care of us and tried to make it
Yeah.
fun. And then after that, year after year, my mother, and I think it was because that date was so difficult for everyone in my family, she
Mhm.
went overboard like you do with
Yeah.
Halloween. Like, she would start decorating in
Uh,
September. She would hand make all of our costumes. She would, we would always go to trick or trunk at the church too, because that was
mhm.
like the fun thing to do. So we did that.
Yeah.
But she would get, I mean, she would get dressed up herself. She would have the boiling cauldron. We were like, what? That and Christmas. Like, she just went
Mhm.
nuts with it all. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was fun. I do miss that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and now, like I said, I have a 5-year-old, and he's getting more and more into it, and we'll have to figure out what he's going to be this year. We've kind of gone between like 3 or 4 different things so far, um, so we'll see where we land. But I love it, and again, it's a way to tell some stories. I'll have some podcast episodes. I'm going to be doing one on the Mothman, Bell Witch, the Skunk Ape.
Oh, I
There's
don't know
there'll
that
be
one.
there'll be quite a few. I have a whole list of things I'm going to be doing in September and October.
Oh, I love it. And I kinda love, not kinda love, I really love vampires, particularly, werewolves, like the
Oh yeah,
whole thing. I read it,
Mhm.
I watch it, I whatever, and folklore, right? And I know you talk a lot about folklore. It's fascinating, and I think
yeah,
that one of the things with folklore is that the facts are beside the point, right?
right.
Um, kinda like the haunts in Charleston, the fact that Charleston paints a lot of their porches and the ceilings of their porches and their front doors this haunt blue color, and it's
Right.
an actual color that you can buy at Sherwin-Williams
Yep.
because they believe that the haunts, which are the really bad ghosts that wanna come see you in the middle of the night, will get confused and think it's water and will not pass by your front door.
That's right.
So, I think my point is that these folklore stories mean something to people, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't matter that it's factual, that there's any fact to it whatsoever. Um, you mentioned a few there. What are some of your what's your favorite folklore story?
Yeah. So I am going to attempt to write a book myself.
Yay, you should.
It's going to be fiction, but it's about the Rougarou,
Okay.
which is the Cajun werewolf. And you talked about traditions. And there's different versions of how one becomes the Rougarou, and some of the oddities with it, like you were talking about the front porches. If you leave 13 pieces of silver by your door, the Rougarou can't get you because it can't count past 13. So it sits there and keeps trying to count, and it can't get past there, and then eventually leaves. So there's little hilarious things like that, and the Rougarou is supposed to come for if you break Lent. There's part of like a whole religious part of it. So it's fascinating. So I'm going to write a version of it that's set in the 20s because I love that era.
Oh, I love that.
And but that's my favorite, and it's been really fascinating to research it because there's all these different variations of it. But people like telling those stories and sharing it with friends, family for fun.
Mhm.
Painting the ceiling might sound silly, but it's also fun and quirky, and it's a story and tradition. And again, we love tradition, so
That's right, and I'm sure you probably have stories. I mean, growing up in the South, like, there were times when my mom would, "Oh, no, the black cat just crossed in front of us," or "Don't go under the ladder," or "Don't," there was
oh
all
gosh.
these things she would, like, sprinkle the salt by the front door, or whatever. Um, there's all these things that we did that I didn't realize as a kid, like, what it was,
Mhm.
and now I'm grown up, and I'm like, "Okay, that was folklore. That was something, some sort of tradition that was passed down through generation and generation."
Yeah, my mom does not like when a black cat passes
Mm-mm.
across the road. You're also not supposed to leave your hat on the bed. All these superstition
Oh,
things. It's bad luck to put your hat on. So all types of hilarious. And still to this day, I'll like go to put my hat on bed. I'm like, nah, better not. I don't know
yeah.
why. There's like a better
I do
safe
it
than
too.
sorry.
I will bring an umbrella in the house to save
Mm.
my life. Like, you have to close the umbrella before it goes in the house, can't walk under the ladder.
That's right.
Like all these little things. But I find myself chuckling sometimes when I do it because it reminds me of my mom, which is nice.
Exactly. And I think that's part of, kind of this thing, this overall conversation that we're having is it reminds you of people, it links you to people, it preserves their memory, it preserves tradition. And it's also why I like telling these stories and everything like that. It's fascinating and lovely is a good name for
Lovely.
it.
Lovely. It's lovely. What a beautiful Southern word. It's lovely.
Yeah.
So when you're researching, because you do a lot of research, I can tell from your podcast, what makes you kind of stop and go, hey, this is a story that people need to know?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's having like a aha moment, like, oh, I didn't know that. And a lot of times I'll kind of, some of these I may know some of the story, but then as I'm reading, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And sometimes I'm just researching for an article or maybe just like a social media post.
Right.
But then I go down a rabbit hole. I'm like, ooh, there's a lot more to this than I originally thought. So I'm going to do a podcast episode. The very first episode that I did was about, it's called The Secret, a treasure hunt.
Oh.
And one of those treasures, and this is a real thing, and because they found some, one of those treasures is in Charleston.
Oh.
Wow.
And
Now I have to go back and look at this.
They have not found it yet. Josh Gates from Expedition Unknown has been there and tried to find it. Couldn't, but he's found 2 others in different cities. There's 11 boxes, and I think only 3 of them have been found. 3 or 4 of them have been found. Yeah.
What?
But
Seriously? This is very Outer Banks to me.
It's a legit. It's a legit thing. There's one in Roanoke. There's one in Roanoke.
Oh,
there's one
that's
in
a cool place.
There's one in Charleston. There's one or 2 in Florida. You could go look.
Are there maps and things involved with trying to find these, or?
It's funny you say that. There is a book written that I have that gives you clues within the book. There's like there is a poem and also a painting, and the painting's like really crazy, and so but there's clues within the painting and there's clues within the poem. And the guy that wrote the book, he's passed away, but his family has preserved the knowledge, and they will not give out clues, nothing. You find this box that has a key in it. You turn the key in to the family, and they'll give you a gem.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now I have to. What's the name of the book?
It's called The Secret, not The Secret. Like,
that's
I think
The Secret.
Yeah, it's called The Secret: A Treasure Hunt by Byron Priest.
I'm writing this down because I have to read this now. And plus, there's a poem involved. Why not?
Yeah, it's a wild book. There's like trolls and all. It's crazy. It's like a fever dream reading it.
That's amazing.
But it's fascinating. But yeah, there's a lot of treasures undiscovered in the South, and that was, I kind of knew about it, started reading that book, and I was like, this has to be a podcast. So that's kind of how it started.
Oh, that's awesome. And you said fever dream, and like I love those, any kind of books where it's like a stream of consciousness and sort of, just like you can tell somebody just woke up and went, whoa, I have to write this down.
Yeah, I thought I had it back over here. I do not see it, but I'm sure it's somewhere. But yeah, you ought to see the paintings. It's wild, but yeah, you should check it out. And now I will say you may have to have a permit to dig in some of these places because he put them in parks, probably not thinking that you get in trouble digging in a park.
Right.
So the one in Charleston is supposedly in the Battery area,
which you can't. How would you dig there?
You'd have to get a permit. So
they're definitely strict with that. I wonder. Yeah. So does it have something to do with pirates? Because I know when I was there, we were talking a lot. But there were a lot of pirates, and because they were jailed in the dungeons in Charleston.
Yeah. No, I mean, he gives clues. It doesn't really have to do with pirates or anything. And there was one in Chicago. There was one in Cleveland. I think the one in Chicago and Cleveland have been found. There was one in Boston that was found. but there is a lot in the South just have not been found yet.
Oh, this is so cool. All right,
Yeah.
you give me some homework. Um, so what do you think that is that people misunderstand about the South? People that are not from the South. And they look at us and they, like, is there something that you think like, nah, they didn't quite get that right?
Well, they think we're slow.
Mm-hmm.
We're slow with our words, but quick with our feet, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's good.
I, I just think there's, like the movie Deliverance,
Yeah.
like that. I
Right.
don't like that movie.
That
This one that,
movie is creepy.
yeah, I don't like the movie, to be perfectly honest, just because it has a lot of the stereotypes, and I don't appreciate it. It's a great movie, all things considered, but I just think there is this misunderstanding of how Southern people are. We talk a little slower for sure,
Yeah.
but we are resilient. We have a lot of grit. Um, we have a lot of tradition and culture and perseverance.
That's
Um,
right.
so.
That's right. That's right. That's all the questions Josiah, do you have any questions?
No, but I've really been enjoying just listening to you to the conversation, and I'm curious about this book too now. Growing up, I loved watching National Treasure, huge National Treasure
Oh yeah.
fan. So
Oh
when you brought this up, I was thinking, oh, this sounds like Ben Gates.
yeah.
That's
So
that's awesome.
to
We
get to
should
get
maybe
you
we do like a thing where we go look for some of this treasure. That could be good.
Right.
I am down. I've got a metal detector.
Oh, let's do
Because
it.
because why not? But yeah, to get you started, you should watch. There's a couple of episodes on Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates, where
Okay.
he does a couple of these adventures out. And like I said, he finds a couple. So it's not like this is a myth. This is not like, oh, it's hearsay. There are legitimately buried treasure in these places. They just
Wow.
haven't been
Wow.
found yet.
And do
Yeah.
you know what year was this that this all went down? Like the treasures were buried.
I think he buried them in the 80s. I should know this because
Okay.
I did a show about it. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
In the and the first treasure was found pretty quickly, but then times change, things get bulldozed and built over, so there could be some of that. But it's fascinating. But that whole thing is just a perfect example of kind of the stories I like to tell, and
Yeah.
just interesting little facts and everything. So
Yeah. You just took me back to my grandfather, Arthur. He had a metal detector, and he'd walk around, or if we'd go to the beach anytime or whatever, he'd just walk around with the metal detector looking for stuff. And most of the time he was just picking up pennies and I don't know, whatever nails or whatever was there, right?
yeah.
But he used to do that. And he also weirdly had this collection of amethyst rocks, which I I don't know if that was just like a thing back in the 80s because
Hmm.
everybody seemed to have like these giant amethyst rocks in their house, and now these things are like thousands of dollars at the
Yeah.
store, and he just had a ton of them like everywhere.
I'm not look the metal detector that I have. I'm not allowed to take it to the beach during normal beach hours. My wife says that I can only take it in the mornings before.
It's like who's the weirdo on the beach with the metal detector?
Like I'm not with him. So
That's hilarious. That's awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, Well,
cool.
Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I had a lot of fun today. I geeked out a little bit and talked a lot about books, which is one of my favorite subjects. I wish you all the best with what you're doing. I'm going to be checking out that The Secret and some of those other podcasts that you've got going on. And
Yeah.
good luck with Shark Week.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
or maybe I should say all of us good luck with Shark Week. But thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate
Yes.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This has been great, and I appreciate the book that you wrote. I'm very much looking forward to the next one that you put out, and yeah, I love that all the stuff that you're doing too. So thanks for letting me tag along on this episode.
Thank you, Matt.